I feel like the Celtics have something to prove. They won ugly last night. What do you think they need to do to come out on top tonight?
Well, the thing they're going to have to rely on is what Doc Rivers kind of talks about all the time is their defense. Obviously, the Celtics, as far as and also with Avery Bradley, I mean, they're going to need to stop some quality guys. I mean, it's a good thing that Danny Granger, he's out, so that's one thing that's a positive thing to look at, to take one of their offensive weapons out. But, I mean, you still have Paul George. You still have Wes. You still have George Hill. I mean, these guys are coming off of a great game, so the Celtics are going to need to rely on their defense. It kind of goes to that old saying, defense wins games, defense wins championships. And one of the things that's just going to have to be is they're going to have to find ways to stop Indiana's top scoring guys, and it's going to come down to their defense. And maybe it could work out too, where maybe they'll shift the zone like they did against Philadelphia. Maybe it could work out. Knowing Doc Rivers, he'll find some way to stop their offensive game. They've been pretty successful over the Pacers for a while now.
And Darren, you talked about George Hill a little bit. You were able to cover him when you were in San Antonio with the Spurs, of course, a team we cover here a little bit at WKXL. And what kind of changes has George Hill made now that he's kind of in a more open system for him to be able to show off his talents in Indianapolis?
Well, that's funny. I was actually just talking to George Hill this morning on the phone, and one thing that I've noticed from when he used to play with the Spurs, he was kind of in the system of the Tim Duncan, the Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Greg Popovich wanted him to score more, but George Hill always wanted to pass more. And now that he's in this new system in Indiana, I think it kind of brought him back to his old stomping grounds because he's from that area, and it allowed him to now flourish in his offensive game, kind of what Greg Popovich wanted him to do when he was in San Antonio. And it's been really productive for him. I mean, he's coming off of a game, just his previous game where he had like 21 points. So George Hill is definitely, he found his groove. It's all kind of about confidence. I know we spoke about this a few days ago. I mean, when a guy finds his confidence, gets his confidence, you can't teach that. It just comes. And George Hill kind of got that when he went to Indiana. It's been working out for him. One thing he was kind of also saying today was that I was wondering, I'm like, you're playing the Celtics tonight, and you just had a good game. And the thing about George Hill that hasn't changed is his mindset. It's all about business to him. He knows about the Celtics, how good they are, but the main thing that he was saying was it's just another game on the schedule, and he's just going to take the same approach like he does every other game. So it's almost like he has that Spurs mindset, but yet now that he's with Indiana, he has that confidence in the offensive game that has flourished a lot. So it's going to be another tough one. Maybe we'll throw Avery Bradley on him to kind of shut him up a little bit.
I think that is something you'll see, and I'm glad you brought up Avery Bradley guarding him, because when I look at the matchup between the Celtics and Indiana, does this depth of the Pacers kind of worry you?
Well, the thing about it is, well, one, of course, you're going to have Paul Pierce will have to step up somehow. The good thing about the Celtics this year is they have guys who can step up. It's not just, let's just focus on Paul Pierce. Let's just focus on Kevin Garnett. They have guys who can step up in any given day. It could be one day, it could be Paul Pierce scoring 30 points. Another night, it could be Kevin Garnett scoring 20-something points. So Paul Pierce is going to have to kind of approach this game knowing that, okay, I'm going to have to do a lot more defensively, and then maybe somebody else will pick up the slack, where you can maybe have Jeff Green and maybe has a good offensive game. Maybe Avery Bradley plays well again. But a lot of pressure is definitely on Paul Pierce. And, I mean, Paul Pierce is a veteran. I mean, he's kind of been there, done that. So I wouldn't worry about him defensively. But don't get me wrong, it's going to be a tough challenge, but I'm sure Doc is going to figure out some way to help Paul Pierce out defensively. But this might be one of those nights where Paul Pierce definitely on defense will have to step up his game more, and somebody else is going to have to pick up his offensive slack.
Darren Haynes joins us, formerly of NBC7 in Boston. And Darren, our buddy Gary Washburn over at the Globe yesterday tweeted out, are the Celtics going to set up a long-term agreement with Avery Bradley? I'm convinced they have to. You covered him at Texas in college. Do you foresee them trying to do something like that?
I think Avery Bradley proved his point on how good he can be when Ray Allen went out with an injury last season, and then all of a sudden he had the double shoulder surgery, and I can't say he started off slow. He got to get back into the groove of things, but I mean, he proved, like we've talked about before, he's one of the best defenders in the league. And on top of that, too, we also talked about his confidence. He has that confidence now where he's not afraid to shoot. He's not afraid to make a good pass. Defensively, of course, he's not shy at all there. That's his bread and butter. But his overall game is coming around. So if you can get a guy like Avery Bradley who can defend whoever it is, it could be Dwayne Wade if it's a big rival. We know what he did to Dwayne Wade in the playoffs last year. If you can get a guy defensively, then he has his offensive game that's coming around. His jump shot is 10 times better. I don't know what they did with the surgery, but they did something that allowed his jump shot to improve. I think he deserves quote unquote more money. He's definitely proved it. You know he's a team player. He buys into the system. Doc Rivers loves him. Really, what is there out there that's really negative about him? Why you wouldn't want a guy like Avery Bradley on your team who's for the team and about the team, not really about himself?
I'm wondering if Bradley has proven himself enough as a point guard to, I guess, be the Celtics point guard or somebody else's point guard.
So you get a guy like Avery Bradley who, when he came in last season, he was a little shaky on the offense. He was new coming up from the D-League, but now he's had basically a year now to learn that entire offense. So as a point guard with Rondo maybe coming back next year, Avery Bradley can run the point anytime. He's grown into that system. He knows the system. And the thing about it is he's still young. He can learn, so he can develop even more and play even better than he is right now. And the bad part about that is he can also learn another offense on another team and also be very successful.
Right.
And that's one key point why the Celtics should try to find some way to keep Avery Bradley around, because money does talk, and some other teams out there that would love to have a guy like Avery Bradley.
Well, Darren is leaving. Well, he's already left NBC7 up in Boston. Don't know exactly where he's going to go next, but wherever it is, they're going to get a great sportscaster. Darren, we're going to miss you, and thanks so much for joining us on the show.
No problem. Anytime, Darren.